And this COVID environment is not the only challenge, of course, that they're dealing with. They're dealing with the same things that many others are dealing with around income inequality, the poverty associated with that, the very tight housing market, the lack of housing resources. I think just to keep in mind that those things all impact young people.
Hi, and welcome to another segment of Bellingham Now. I'm Kevin Coleman, and here today we're going to talk about Northwest Youth Services. For those of you who don't know about Northwest Youth Services is a nonprofit organization that's serving young people between ages of 13 to 24, and they're experiencing homelessness in Whatcom and Skagit County. They also offer housing, street outreach, help finding a job or enrolling into school, connection to mental health services, supporting the LGBTQ youth, restoring justice and juvenile offenders, and referrals to other services in the community. Today, I have Jenn Daly and Dean Wright with Northwest Youth Services to talk to us today. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So tell us, I'd give you a little intro of what it's all about, but tell us really what it is that you guys do for the community.
Northwest Youth Services has been around for about 45 years. And so what we've done over the last 45 years has shifted and changed based on what youth in our community need. Currently, our work is really focused on preventing and intervening in youth homelessness. So in our prevention work, we're working in schools, we're working directly with families to make sure that young people who are at risk of homelessness or whose families are struggling keeping a roof over their home are safe and supported and stable. And in our intervention programs, we're working with young people who are currently unhoused to invite them inside and access housing.
Nice. And Dean, you are the interim executive director for Northwest Youth Services. And how long have you been in your role?
Since late January this year.
Okay. I'm sure you've seen some big changes since January, just what's happening overall in our entire community.
You know, about 3 weeks in, we started talking about the response to the coronavirus situation, and that for a period of time really dominated all of our conversations. I think we settled into a good rhythm, though. I think all of our staff have adapted well to how they serve youth in this kind of an environment and still maintain safety. For example, we have the ground floor program operating out of the Congregational Church on Cornwall, which is really a safe haven during the day for youth, and we had to adapt to making it less cozy home-like with a lot of contact between youth to instead being more of a social distancing kind of a situation where they can still get basic needs met. Showering, laundering clothes, being able to access a computer to get information or apply for services and so on. But it continues to be an important resource. As well, the PAD, which is our shelter program for youth, had to address the possibility that some youth in that facility might become symptomatic. And so how would we handle isolation and still providing for all those who were there and not. So those have been the kinds of challenges we've been struggling with, but I think moving forward very successfully.
Talked about changes and adapting during this time, and I think that's great as far as watching out for the health and the well-being of everybody. How many youth do you actually provide service for in the Whatcom and Skagit County areas?
Yeah, so last year we served about 1,300 young people. Our estimate is that we're serving anywhere from 250 to 300 young people at a time, and so that's in our various programs. You know, it looks a little different with social distancing. Often we're serving young people through QSA groups in the schools or through teen court and other school-based programs that aren't meeting currently. So those folks are getting supported on the phone or in on video conferencing such as this, and so that looks a little different today than it did.
That's still 1,300 kids is a lot of kids in the area. You don't realize it. So what have you learned about our community during this time that maybe you didn't realize before with Northwest Youth Services?
I guess what I would say is that as probably many others have experienced in other organizations, there are people who step up quickly in this community out of a desire to support people in challenging times. And so, for example, there's a mask makers group associated with the Riveters Collective that has been supplying us with cloth masks. They also were able to produce for us some gowns basically out of Tyvek, the building material, for the pad staff to have available to them in case they were needing to interact with isolated and symptomatic youth. And there are just many other examples of how the community steps up in such a time. And I'm sure Jen could describe others.
Yeah, we've had people from all over the county reach out and ask how they can support our work. Another group that's been particularly helpful is the Whatcom County COVID Helpers Group. We've had a few people from there who've been involved in gleaning food through other organizations in our community and recognized that once businesses closed down, we weren't getting food for the ground floor, and they independently reached out to community members to start food drives and ensure that, particularly in the early weeks when systems weren't really in place, really ensured that the young people we were serving didn't go hungry. We didn't miss a beat when it came to serving food, and even when we transitioned from family style eating to kind of more single serve packaged food, the community was right there to support that effort.
That's really incredible. I love hearing stuff like that. And I love hearing like the Whatcom COVID community helpers and everything that they've done. It's really amazing what our county has done collectively to help a lot of the nonprofits and the youth in our community right now. How would people be able to find and help this organization? How would they be able to be part of it?
Finding out more about what we do on our website, www.nwys.org, is a great way to start, just to get a better sense of kind of what we're up against and what youth homelessness looks like in our community. You can reach out to myself or Dean to ask questions. We're always looking for volunteers, whether it be food gleaning, working in our garden, or even joining our board. We're a fun group of adults who really love young people and really want to provide opportunities for folks to shine.
That's great. Yeah, Dean, do you want to add anything to that?
I guess I wanted to mention, since Jen referenced it, one of the sort of signature programs that we've had at Northwest Youth Services for a number of years is the We Grow Garden. It originally was on the site of a piece of land next to our old office on State Street, which is now where one of the permanent supported housing buildings has been built at 22 North. And so we've moved it to a plot of land owned by the city over near Whatcom Creek on the north side. We've always had good collaboration from a number of organizations. This year we had the help of Common Threads Farms to help us get off the ground initially with the garden getting underway, and particularly challenging under the circumstances of the COVID-19 restrictions. Also, the Master Gardeners associated with Washington State University, and we've had we just recently formed an advisory board representing employers in the community who I think can be a resource to youth as they understand what happens to food when they produce it and it goes into the community, into restaurants, how wholesale and retail gardens operate in the community, and what job opportunities there might be based on the experiences they gain working in the We Grow Garden. So that's been, I think, a program we're particularly proud of and enthusiastic about.
I think that's wonderful. And then with all this, with everything that we're going through right now, you guys are also going through some changes and some rebranding too, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
That's true. After, I don't know how many years, our current brand, probably at least 20, we're rebranding and launching this week. So we'll have a new website to share with your audience members, and a new look that hopefully reflects a little bit more of the spirit and diversity that we seek to find in our community.
That's excellent. If you could leave people today with just one thought or a message from this interview, what would that be?
Don't forget our youth. It's easy as programs are developed and come and go to think generally of adults who need services of various kinds, to think about school children and school and related programs. But there is this group of people who, for whatever reason, find themselves out on the street, find themselves in trying circumstances, either because of gender identity issues or poverty that results in them being on their own and being homeless, and who then also struggle even when they become of age to deal with the transitions into being able to function as an adult in a community when there are challenges going on. And this COVID environment is not the only challenge, of course, that they're dealing with. They're dealing with the same things that many others are dealing with around income inequality, the poverty associated with that, the very tight housing market, the lack of housing resources. I think just to keep in mind that those things all impact young people in a very significant way.
Yeah. Jen, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I echo what Dean says. The young people we serve, a lot of them that are in our housing units right now have been working really hard over the last couple of years to really stabilize. And unfortunately, they were the first people that I knew personally to lose their jobs due to COVID. And the first folks that really, after working really, really hard to see some success and see the light of where they wanted to head, have been, for all intents and purposes, stalled in their climb to whatever it is they're reaching for. And that's hard when you have trauma that has impacted your life, and it's kind of a re-traumatizing event. And it's hard to live through a pandemic. It's hard to live through a social uprising. There's a lot going on right now. But we're their support. They don't necessarily have a support system to lean on when it comes to finding strength in other people.
I just appreciate everything you guys are doing. You guys have been around for a long time. You help a lot of people in our community, and you do great things. I'm very excited about what the future is going to hold for Northwest Youth Services and the ways that the community can get involved. So I am encouraging our community to get involved with it, but also to reach out and to find out how they can get involved, because you do have a number of different opportunities for people on however they want to get involved. So I think that's really important. If there's any last words that you guys would like to say or anything that you might want to add, please feel free. Now is your open opportunity to say anything.
I guess I would just add that the events of the last week around the country have their impacts here locally as well. And I think we feel a great concern for people of color, youth who are traumatized just by witnessing the events around the country, and the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. And so that's just one more traumatizing event that young people experience just as deeply as other people do.
Well said. Jen?
I really just want to thank Whatcom and Skagit counties in particular. Getting to work in this environment and getting to work in an environment that really does support social services and support people. There's always going to be a divide, but for the most part, it's been an incredibly generous place to work and an incredibly generous place to live. And I'm just really proud to be here and to supporting the young people that we get to support every day.
I appreciate both of you for what you're doing. I appreciate how you're supporting our youth. And I appreciate you being on our show today, because words like these and organizations like these matter to our community, not only now, but to long-term for support and hope. So thank you both for being here today, and wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed watching this episode of Bellingham Now. To see all of our episodes, go to BellinghamTonightShow.com. New content is added daily, so make sure you subscribe for updates. Thanks for watching.